Hello, Year 5, and welcome back to your next lesson. I can't do that seriously now because of Keaton, because you guys mocked me all of last term for my little cheery things in the morning. I feel like I need to shake the entrances up a little bit now. I'm feeling really self-conscious, guys. My goodness, I can't do it now. I'm gonna have to get Keaton just to introduce all of the videos now, seeing as you all find it so funny. Anyway, having put me off now, so we are going to continue with our investigating rivers. Okay, now obviously this would have been our lesson in school today, and I had a really good lesson planned where you're going to create some really nice big posters, obviously because Mr. Day was going to be in watching that lesson as well. So I've had to change it up slightly. Just to try and detract from doing too much research, because we've done lots of research lessons and investigations. So I've tried to keep the activity as simple as possible, but please make sure that you concentrate on this video, because a lot of the information you're going to need for your activity will be in this video. Okay, so make sure you're paying close attention. So we're going to focus on the causes of river pollution today. And looking at the effect that it has on the environment. So we've looked at the water cycles, how rivers work, where they build, what happens when rivers overflow, when they flood. And today we're going to look at the causes of river pollution, because we know they're such a big thing for the ecosystem and for our environment that river pollution can have some very serious consequences. So what I want you to do is just pause the video first and have a think about these questions. So I want you to create yourself almost like a mini mind map. I want to see if you can come up with the same topics that I'm going to go through and discuss with you today. So first of all, I want you to write a definition of what you think river pollution is. Okay, think about what is pollution. Can you think of any different types of pollution that we have in the world? And I want you to think, what do you think some of the causes are? So I want you to draw a little mind map of what causes river pollution. And on your mind map, I want you to jot down all the different things that could pollute a river. Okay, so just pause the video and give yourself about 5 minutes. Just have a go at a definition of pollution and what you think causes river pollution. Okay, so few facts then before I dig into that previous question. So believe it or not, only 1% of all of the world's water is usable for humans. 1%. We're pushing somewhere on not 11.2 billion people, I think, now on the planet. That doesn't seem like very much at all. Okay, and some of that water that we do use is actually being polluted by many different factors. So it affects things like agriculture. So agriculture is farming. It affects the industry. So people that make things. If you've got chemical plants, electrical plants, and people, we cause river pollution. Okay, so not only does it mean the water becomes smelly and unpleasant, okay, which you can see here, we've got the algae forms, we've got an oil tanker in here, we've got plastic in here. It actually becomes unsafe for people, animals, and plants. Basically, 3 of the most important things on this planet. So I want you to sit and think, well, actually, why is river pollution dangerous? What are the consequences that means that polluting a river can have nasty consequences on other things? So let's see if you came up with some of the similar things I did. So agriculture is one of them, farmers, okay? Now, you may have heard sometimes if your parents come back and you buy apples from the supermarket, that people say, do you know what, you need to wash the apples before you eat them. And you might find sometimes you've rubbed an apple on your top and then gone, oh, look, it's really shiny. They put things on fruits and vegetables. They put things on crops that grow to stop bugs from getting to them. And one of the things when you rub an apple off your shirt or your arm, the reason why it goes shiny is because the apples are dipped in wax. And not only is that to keep them fresher, but it's to keep bugs away from them. But not only do they put things like wax on it, when they're out growing on trees or they're in farms or they're growing in crops, they actually put things called pesticides. And obviously pesticides, the idea of pest, it's a bug. Pests we don't like, so we get rid of them. So they put chemicals on their crops, and not only does it then help them grow, it helps them keep rid of other bugs. But those chemicals aren't always the best, because when they get washed down through the river, when it rains and it seeps in, remember you've got that, what's the word I'm looking for? When it goes into the water, into the soil, and it soaks through. I've forgotten the word. It will come back to me though. So when it penetrates through that soil and it soaks in, okay, it then causes issues, and all of that water then soaks back through, and then it flushes all of that water out into the river. I've remembered the word. Infiltrations. When it infiltrates, okay, so it gets into the soil. That's the word I was looking for. I knew I remembered it. So, like I said, the idea of pesticides is to kill bugs and insects, okay, because bugs and insects like to eat food. So they'll eat the crops. If they eat the crops, they haven't got anything to yield, which means farmers don't make money and food doesn't get transported, made into things and then sold to the local market, the world, okay, in our supermarkets. So these chemicals then cause algae. Now, we've talked about algae when we actually looked at our Grendel whiting that we did, and it's that thick sludge or slime that sits on top of that water, and that's what gives it that really nasty smell. And algae tends to be green, but with chemicals, obviously, it can be a slightly different colour. It's a thick scum line, effectively. Like if you have a bath and you rinse the bath out and there's like soap line that goes around the top of the bath, it's like a scum line. Now, or not only can it destroy the water, plants that live in the water, it can make people sick. So if we drink that, it's not particularly nice. Now, when I say, would you want to swim in this water? I'm really hoping every single one of you says no to that question. I mean, I would probably scream if just a bit of seaweed flicked on me and I thought it was a bug or a shark or a whale, okay? Let alone the algae, no thank you. So, industry, this is when we're talking about our massive factories that they make equipment, they make oil, they burn all of our greenhouse gases, obviously is increasing our global warming and the temperature of our planet. They pump out, I can't even explain how many toxins and chemicals. They are highly, highly dangerous. And anyone that owns any of these factories or these chemical plants, there is a legal way for you to get rid of chemicals and toxins. And there are people in the world that, because it costs money to do things safely, will try and save themselves that money, so won't dispose of those chemicals safely. When they're not disposed of appropriately, because obviously they're trying to save on that money, they actually then dump it illegally. And where's it going to go? It's going to go into rivers, okay? So you've got very dangerous toxins, very dangerous chemicals that aren't being disposed of appropriately or safely. That gets into the river water, okay? Not only does that cause the river pollution, okay, but obviously factories will then use that water to cool down machinery, because machinery is going to get hot when it's being used and pumped all day long. Once that water's been used to clean out those machines and cool them down, where do you think that water's going to go? Straight back into the rivers. Now, the problem with that is that water isn't always clean, okay? And not only is it then not clean, but it's then warmer. Okay, and because it's warmer, and you'll learn this in year 6 and when you move into secondary school, water carries oxygen. Obviously, we know this from how fish are able to breathe. I don't know why I put those two words together. Underwater, and that's because they absorb the oxygen. That's how plants can live underwater. They absorb the oxygen from the water. But when it's warm water, because you've heated up and warmed that water, there's less oxygen in it. So not only is there then less oxygen, okay, there's less for the organisms to be able to use that then live in the rivers. So not only are we now poisoning our water, which potentially people go and swim in and drink in knowing it's not clean, but it's killing our marine life as well, okay? And then you've got people. I mean, this clear as day, something that everyone just doesn't even think about. And you see all of these videos from when David Attenborough does his TV shows, the things on Netflix, The Blue Planet. I mean, the amount of plastic in the ocean is horrific, okay? For those of you at school, my great litter pickers, you know who you are. You're doing the environment some good. There is nothing to say if we were by the seaside and people left all of their rubbish, especially people coming out of the pandemic that just left bags and bags on the beaches. That's going to get blown into the water, blown to sea, blown into the ocean, and it's going to go straight into our rivers. Not only has it got harmful food and toxins for anything like alcohol or any other substances that are used, that gets into the water life. Rubbish doesn't look particularly nice either. No one wants to go swimming at the beach and see bottles floating by or bin bags floating by or carrier bags or, you know, your Quavers wrappers that someone's had from their crisps. Not only does it look not particularly pleasant, but any food or liquid that was in any of that packaging has then leaked into the water. It's not going to make it smell particularly nice either, okay? Not only does that then happen with rivers, we know that rivers eventually end up in the sea and they end up in the ocean. I mean, that's going to damage our marine life, isn't it? That's when you see videos of turtles that have got plastic wrapped around their necks or a plastic straw that's got stuck up their nose. It kills them. It's not safe. Now, we've looked at this before, and I can't remember why or what lesson it was in, but we looked at something to do with an oil tanker and the spillages. And when there's an accident and you've got that massive oil leak, I mean, that oil instantly is a poisonous chemical to marine life, isn't it? And it creates, if you can see on this picture, like a really shiny film. If you've ever been to the petrol station, it's rained, and your mum and dad or your carers are filling up their car and you see like a rainbow pattern on a puddle. That's the same kind of film that comes from the oil, and you can just see it here on the top of the picture. And what that actually does, which is a very interesting fact actually, it stops oxygen from getting into the water. It's almost like it covers it as a layer and it traps the surface underneath, meaning that oxygen can't penetrate through that layer. So not only is it then not getting any oxygen from it, but it's then dangerous to any bird life or any wildlife that likes to sit on top of the water. Okay? Now, one of the things that happens, you've got seagulls. If you've ever watched any of the David Attenborough TV shows, obviously lots of birds like to come and fly straight down and penetrate through the water to eat the fish. They do that and they go through that layer. They're going to get covered in oil. Oil's heavy, it's thick, and it can get sticky. And what it does, it will not only contaminate their feathers and skin, but if there's a lot of it, it could drown them because oil's a lot heavier than water. So it can actually drown them if it gets stuck in all of their feathers. So, where are the most polluted rivers in the world? Now, we've had a bit of a discussion about world rivers that we know about, but we haven't gone over this in great detail. We're looking at specific rivers next week. So, these are the top 10 rivers that are the most polluted. Okay, so you may have heard of the Ganges River. I know you've all heard of the Mississippi's River. You might have heard of the Sano River, but a lot of these rivers, okay, are very highly polluted. Okay. Now, this is where they're located, okay, and a lot of them are in areas where there's a high level of export of goods, so be it food, be it goods, be it materials, spices, because they come from countries where there's a high level of exports, where materials are taken from one country to another. There's a lot of oil tankers that go out there, big ships that then transport them from country to country or continent to continent, okay. So what do these pictures tell us about river pollution and the environment? Okay, you can see here it's littered with rubbish. Here you can see a turtle that's completely been drowned in the oil. Okay, so it's stuck. You can see here, this is very clearly dirty water that's going out into what should be a clean off ocean. And you have a dead fish here. Okay, you can see the consequences it has not only on our wildlife, on our animals, but on the sanity and the cleanliness of our water. Okay. So we need to think, well, how can we prevent river pollution? Okay, and this is where your activity comes in, okay? So thinking about these solutions are going to help you with your tasks. So don't throw paint, oil, or forms of litter down the sink or toilet. Okay, that should be a given. Use environmentally friendly household cleaning products. For any of you girls, I certainly know from my age, until it was pointed out to me, I used to use a face wash that used to have little beads in it, so it like it exfoliated your skin. Those little beads, they're not biodegradable. So they wash all the way down through your drainage system. They go out into the rivers and the oceans and the fish eat them and it kills them because they're tiny, tiny, tiny beads of plastic. Okay. I don't use those anymore. Okay. Don't overuse pesticides and fertilizers. So again, we're poisoning our crops. That ends up infiltrating through the water. It goes into the soil, goes in through the water and out into our rivers. And a big one there, don't throw litter. Although we might not throw litter into rivers, the wind can pick it up, a storm can pick it up, it's all going to end up in that water, okay? It's not hard to put these things in the bin, is it? No, it is not. So, your task is you are going to create a poster, a campaign poster against river pollution, okay? I want you to design a poster about all the things that we can do to support river pollution. So think about things that people shouldn't be doing and things that people should be doing. Okay, so you might even want to add some pictures on there or draw some pictures or add some facts on there, almost to guilt trip people in. We know we looked at the idea of the exaggerating and the amplification techniques where, you know, there are 1,000 puppies over Christmas that have been abandoned and no one can ever help them. I want you to draw that person into that poster. So think about things like not littering. Okay, you might want to create a post that's going to be more appealing to somebody who works in a factory and try and encourage them to responsibly get rid of their waste and their chemicals so it's not polluting the rivers. Even industrial sites, big chemical plants, big electrical plants, anywhere that burns those fossil fuels. And include any reasons as to why protecting rivers is so important. So you might want to do a little bit of research. Obviously, we've looked at why rivers were important last week. Okay, so we'll see if you can have a recap and think about what we looked at last week. But I want you to create a poster that sells it to people as to the causes of river pollution and how we can prevent it. You can make it as colourful as you want. Okay, you can do it on any paper that you want. I still want it to be neat because ideally I'd like to be able to get some of these up on Twitter when you've done them as well. Okay, but I would like to then be able to show these to Mr. Day because this would have been our activity had we been in school. So give it a go and see how you get on. Okay, and it will help us when we look at some of our bigger rivers for our lesson next week as well. All right, so have a go and see how you get on. All right, good luck, year 5.